Our top story now on the buck stops here. The Ghar Wapsi of Kala Dhan, black money, is in the headlines again after a new list and a new controversy. This after what's being called the Swiss leaks expose published in many newspapers across the world, including the Indian Express in India. The Indian Express says that 1,195 Indians are on the HSBC list as having or held or holding foreign bank accounts. The government says many names in this new list are already known to it, but they do admit that there are some additional names that need to be probed. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has said that the new names will be investigated, but names are not enough. Evidence is also needed. The key corporates, some of India's who's who, named in the list published in the Indian Express, have rubbished the allegations. They've denied any wrongdoing, saying that they've been compliant with the laws. Now, the government has initiated the prosecution in 60 cases. The assessment, the Finance Ministry says, has been done in 128 of the 628 names. Sources are also saying that the special investigative team will now have to compare the old list, the HSBC list of account holders that was from 1999 to 2000, with the new list published in the Indian Express, that is from the year 2006 to 2007. SIT sources which are probing the black money and looking at how to bring it back are telling NDTV that the old and new HSBC list do have some common names, but they have some new ones as well. What about the 31st March deadline that the SIT has to deliver? SIT sources saying that deadline only applies to the old HSBC list because of a 16-year limitation on tax cases. Sources are saying the SIT will be looking at the new information that has emerged in the Swiss leaks expose. On the program tonight, we're asking whether the entire debate around black money has become somewhat of a red herring. Joining us now on the buck stops here is our newsmaker, somebody who will have to process and factor in this new information, the Attorney General of India, Mukul Rohatgi. Thank you so much, Mr. Rohatgi, for your time on the buck stops here tonight.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you, if what is published in the Indian Express is accurate, then what it means is that there are nearly double the number of names that the government was investigating. So if you were looking at 628 names, you now have 1,195 names to contend with. How do you as Attorney General respond to this new information?
See, Barkha, whether there are 627 names or whether there are 1,000 names, the manner of probing or investigating will be the same. People will be issued notices by the department. The response will be called for. Some people may have genuine accounts. Some people may not have genuine accounts. I saw some names today which are of NRIs or foreigners of Indian origin, like Mr. Suraj Paul, who are living in England for the last 50 years. There is no question of their accounts being illegal. The manner and procedure will be the same, and the first lot has to be completed by 31st March 2015. And as the Finance Minister has said, a substantial amount of investigation has already been done, and the others will also follow suit in the same way.
But Mr. Rohatgi, when you say that the new names will be investigated as well, are you concerned because there was this whole debate over whether the names should be revealed or not? And today we have in the public domain more than 1,000 names of Indian foreign account holders. As you said, not all of them are illegally holding money in foreign accounts. So now, given that the Supreme Court, you had told the Supreme Court the names must not be revealed, how will the government react to these names coming out in the public domain?
See, as far as Government of India is concerned, it has no control over a newspaper publishing names which are either verified or unverified or correct or not correct. That's for the individuals and the newspaper concerned. But as far as Government of India is concerned, it should not publish names without any verification, because rights of privacy are also involved. People can jolly well have legal accounts. If that is so, first they must be probed. Once a probe is done and it is found that the account is illegal, then issues of prosecutions arise. When a prosecution is launched, then it becomes a matter of in public domain, and the treaties between India and say France or England or Germany allow publication of names when they are already in public domain in the form of being before a tax court or a tax prosecution court. So India is also responsible for maintaining its relations in respect of a treaty. It's not purely a domestic issue. If we don't respect a treaty, then at some stage information may even dry up. Then what happens? So these are the issues which the government has to take, and the government also has to act responsibly.
But Mukul Rohatgi, there is a perception among ordinary people that this black money debate has been going on for years, that nothing is actually really going to move. Even if you look at the number of prosecutions that have been filed in the 627 or 628 names that the government was looking at and you had to keep the Supreme Court apprised of, only 60 cases have seen prosecutions. And I believe that another 250 people have actually admitted to holding foreign accounts, and now you'll have to investigate whether this is illegal or legal. The question is that isn't this case or this investigation proceeding at a pace where people don't believe that black money will ever come back?
Barkha, this government took over only in the month of May 2014. We have not even completed a year. The Supreme Court is monitoring through an SIT which is comprising of 2 learned and very experienced judges. The government of India is not holding back any information. All information with the Income Tax Department is shared with the SIT and with the honorable judges. You have to give some time. The first deadline is 31st March. You will see that whatever was required to be done will be done. And insofar as prosecutions are concerned, I must tell you that prosecution is not mandatory under the law. Prosecution will be filed depending on individual cases, the amounts, etc., etc. And you also must keep in view that the issue of bringing back the black money, one is to tax it in India if it is held abroad. The other is an issue of maybe bringing back the money and mandating that money must be brought back compulsorily. The various issues and various modalities are being actively considered by the government, and you will see a large part of it or maybe whole of it in the budget proposals in the Finance Act, which will come in 10 days or 15 days time from today. And if a proper program is made that will effectively also bring back black money apart from mere taxation of black money, and then obviously things will work out. I mean, what has not happened for the last 70 years, you can't expect it to finish in a few months. Once the process is on track, directly under the nose of the Supreme Court and 2 retired judges, ultimately you have to have trust in somebody. You may or may not trust the government, but surely you will trust 2 retired judges, and surely you will trust the Supreme Court, which is monitoring the investigation. And every month the case is listed. So give it some months and you will see that things will happen. So what didn't happen for 50 or 70 years will happen in a year or 2 years from now. What is the problem?
But Mr. Rohatgi, questions will be raised as to why the government and your office did not move sooner on these 1,000 plus names. Were you not aware of them? Because the whistleblower based in France, Falciani, has been talking about these names for a while. So why did it take a newspaper to talk about them? Why didn't the government act on them?
Let me tell you, the government of India is in constant touch with tax authorities in a lot of countries, including European countries. Those countries share information only based on the obligations between reciprocating states under a relevant treaty. They don't hand over names just because, I mean, you want some names. There are some measures to be taken. Some issues of confidentiality have to be addressed under the treaties. The treaties say that the names will not be made public to any authority except a tax authority, and so on and so forth. Now, who knows the names which have come are verified or unverified? Some of these names have appeared a year ago also in regard to some of these industrialists. They have constantly been denying that there is anything illegal, etc. But whenever they have appeared, they will be probed. But the best way to get information really is from the contracting state. once the contracting states give you information under a treaty, you know that that information is straight away correct, and you just take a step forward or 2 steps forward and you reach the goal.
But Mr. Rohatgi, one of the confusing things is that this HSBC list pertains to the financial or the assessment year of 2006 to 2007. The SIT was looking at an HSBC list that is from 1999 to 2000. So was the government not aware of this new HSBC list?
Obviously, the government was not aware. If the government was aware, the SIT would have been aware.
Okay. And the whistleblower, the role of the whistleblower, what do you see as the role of the whistleblower if the Swiss authorities are not cooperating with you on what they call stolen data?
Yeah, because you know, those, as I told you, under the treaty, the Swiss authorities have declined to share any information or make any comment on the veracity of information in regard to stolen data. Now, we can't go and twist their arm. I mean, if you go and twist their arm, the treaty breaks. If the treaty breaks, then there is no regular exchange of information. I may tell you that, we are in the process of having a treaty with the United States. And that treaty has many stringent obligations.
Let me ask you last.
So things have to be ironed out.
Sure.
It's not just a domestic issue. You know, you do understand that.
Okay, last question is this 31st March deadline. In the light of this new information, in the light of the fact that you have to look at the new names, what happens to this deadline? As I understand it, the deadline only applies to one list.
That's obvious because when the new names surface today, the deadline is not 31st March 2015 in regard to those.
So what will be the time
frame? So wherever the deadline applies,
what will be the time frame
I
to
can't tell you offhand. It will be sufficient time. It's not going to be only 1 month. And as I told you, we have made a commitment in the Supreme Court that whatever is to be completed by 31st March, because by law, some things will become time barred and out of bounds on 1st April. That will not be allowed to happen. 31st March will be the deadline. And if for some reason the deadline is to be crossed, then there are ways and means of amending the law also in extending a deadline. So it's not as if that you are going to come to a dead end without any investigation at all.
All right, Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi talking about the new revelations in the Indian Express today on the black money probe and the foreign account holders, some of whom are arguing that their accounts are legal, not illegal. And that's an important point we want to underline. Thank you so much, Mukul Rohatgi, for talking to us on the Buck Stops here.
Good night.